Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive.
Yeah, it's great to be back.
Today we're going to be talking about AI and software engineering.
That's right.
Uh, it's a hot topic. It's something that people are talking about everywhere.
Absolutely.
And we're going to be looking at an article
Mhm.
called The Transformative Impact of AI on Software Engineering.
Right.
This is something that a lot of people are kind of wondering about.
Yeah.
Like, is AI going to replace software engineers?
Right. Is it the end of software engineering as we know it?
Exactly. What we see in this article is that that's not really the case.
Yeah, that's not really what's being said here.
It's more about how the roles are evolving.
Right. It's about how AI is changing the way we work.
So it's a really interesting article that kind of digs into that.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the first things that it talks about are the efficiency boosts that AI is bringing.
Yeah, and that's something that's really exciting.
So what do they mean by that?
Well, think about all those tedious tasks that you have to do as a software engineer.
Right, all that, boilerplate code or like the debugging.
Exactly. And AI can automate a lot of that.
Oh, wow.
So you can free up your time to focus on more creative and strategic work.
So it's like having an extra pair of hands, but they're like, AI-powered hands.
Right. It's like having an AI assistant that can help you with all the grunt work.
Yeah, that's how it's
And there are already tools out there that are doing this,
Like what?
like GitHub Copilot, for example.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that.
It's a tool that uses AI to suggest code completions and even generate entire functions.
Wow. So it's like having an AI pair programmer.
Yeah, exactly.
That's pretty amazing.
It is, and it's just one example of how AI is already changing the way we work.
So this is happening now. This isn't like some future thing.
Right, this is happening right now.
Wow. So what does this mean for software engineers? Like what skills do they need to learn?
Well, the article talks about the need for what they call AI native software engineering.
AI native software engineering.
Yeah, it's a new way of thinking about software development.
What does that mean?
It means designing and building software with AI in mind from the very beginning.
So like not just using AI as a tool, but like
Yeah.
actually like building it into the whole process.
Exactly.
So that's a pretty big shift.
It is, but it's an exciting one.
So what are some of the specific skills that people should be focusing on?
Well, obviously, understanding AI and machine learning is important,
Right.
but it's also about being able to work with AI tools and to integrate them into your workflow.
So it's like you need to know how to code, but you also need to know how to code with AI.
Right.
That sounds pretty daunting.
It can be, but there are a lot of resources available to help people learn these skills.
Yeah, I'm sure there are a lot of online courses and stuff like that.
Exactly. And a lot of companies are also providing training to their employees.
Okay, so that's good to know.
Yeah.
But, one question that I have is like,
Mm-hmm.
with all this AI stuff happening, are human software engineers still going to be needed?
That's a great question and one that a lot of people are asking. And the good news is that the article says yes.
Okay, shoot.
In fact, it predicts that 80% of programming jobs will still be human-centric.
80%, that's a lot.
Yeah. So while AI is definitely changing the landscape of software engineering,
Mm-hmm.
it's not replacing humans altogether.
So what are these human-centric roles going to look like?
Well, they're going to involve a lot more creativity, problem solving, and critical thinking.
Okay.
Because those are the things that AI is not very good at.
Right, so AI can do the, the technical stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but humans are still needed to, come up with the ideas and the solutions.
Exactly.
So it's like a partnership.
Yeah, it's a collaboration between humans and AI.
Okay, that makes sense.
And it's going to be really interesting to see how this partnership evolves in the future.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see what the future holds for software engineering.
Me too.
But, one thing that I'm kind of wondering about is,
Mm-hmm.
if AI is generating all this code,
Yeah.
how do we know that it's good code?
Right. That's a valid concern.
Like, how do we manage code that's been written by a machine?
Well, the article talks about the need for new tools and practices for managing AI-generated code.
Oh, okay.
Things like AI-specific code review tools and new testing methodologies.
Or you're going to need like a whole new set of tools and processes.
Exactly.
Wow, this is a lot to take in.
It is, but it's also really exciting.
Yeah, I mean, it's like we're on the cusp of a whole new era of software development.
Absolutely.
And it's going to be really interesting to see how it all plays out.
I can't wait to see what the future holds.
Me neither.
It's going to be fun.
All right, so we've talked about the efficiency boost AI is bringing to software engineering.
Yep.
We've talked about the new skills that are needed.
Mm-hmm.
And we've talked about the challenges of managing AI-generated code.
Right.
So what's next? Like, what are some concrete steps that people can take to get started with all this AI stuff?
That's a great question, and one that we'll be exploring in more detail in the next part of our deep dive.
Okay, so stay tuned for that.
That's
All right, so for now, I think we'll leave it there.
sounds good.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for listening. So, where do we even begin?
Yeah, that's a good question. Like, what are some practical steps?
Well, I think the first thing is to realize that this isn't as daunting as it might seem.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there are tons of resources available to help people get up to speed on AI.
Like, what kind of resources?
Well, for starters, there are a ton of online courses and tutorials.
Oh, yeah, I've seen some of those.
You can find courses on everything from the basics of machine learning to more advanced topics like deep learning and natural language processing.
So you don't necessarily need to go back to school for like a whole new degree.
No, not at all.
Okay, that's good to know.
And a lot of these courses are actually free or very affordable.
Oh, wow, that's even better.
Yeah, so there's really no excuse not to start learning.
Okay, so let's say someone's taken a few courses and they have a basic understanding of AI.
Mm-hmm.
What's the next step? Like, how do they actually start using AI in their work?
Well, one of the best ways to learn is by doing.
Right.
So I would recommend experimenting with some of the open source AI tools and platforms that are available.
Oh, like what?
There are tools like TensorFlow and PyTorch, which are popular machine learning libraries.
Oh.
And there are platforms like Google Colab, which provides free access to cloud computing resources for running AI experiments.
So you can actually start building stuff without having to invest in a bunch of expensive hardware and software.
Exactly.
Oh.
Huh. And there are also a lot of online communities and forums where you can connect with other AI enthusiasts and get help with your projects.
So it's like a whole ecosystem of support.
Yeah, exactly.
That's really cool.
And as you start experimenting, you'll quickly get a feel for how these AI tools work and how you can apply them to your own work.
Right. It's like anything else, the more you practice, the better you get.
Exactly.
So earlier we talked about natural language prompt engineering.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds like a really interesting area.
It is. It's one of the most exciting developments in AI right now.
So can you tell us a little bit more about it?
Sure. So natural language prompt engineering is basically the art of communicating with AI systems using natural language.
So instead of writing code, you're basically just talking to the AI.
Yeah, that's the idea.
Wow, that's amazing.
And it's becoming increasingly important as AI systems become more sophisticated.
Why is that?
Well, because as AI systems become more powerful, they also become more complex.
Right.
And it becomes harder to program them using traditional coding methods.
So natural language prompt engineering is like a way to simplify the process.
Exactly. It's a way to make AI more accessible to a wider range of people.
So you don't need to be like a coding whiz to be able to use AI.
Not anymore.
That's really cool.
And it opens up a whole new world of possibilities.
So like what kind of things can you do with natural language prompt engineering?
Well, you can use it to generate text, like write stories, poems, or even code.
Wow.
You can use it to translate languages.
Okay.
And you can even use it to create art and music.
No way.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing stuff.
That sounds like something straight out of science fiction.
I know, it's crazy, right?
But it's actually happening now.
It is, and it's only going to get more powerful and sophisticated in the future.
So how can people learn more about natural language prompt engineering?
Well, there are a few resources available online.
Like what?
There are some great blog posts and articles that provide an overview of the topic.
Okay.
And there are also a few online communities and forums where you can connect with other people who are interested in this area.
So if someone's really interested in this, they should just start Googling and see what they can find.
Yeah, that's a good starting point.
All right, so we've talked about technical side of things,
Mm-hmm.
but let's talk about the money.
Okay.
Because I know the article mentioned something about a salary premium for people with AI skills.
Yeah, that's right.
So what's the deal with that?
Well, the article cites a study that found that people with AI expertise can earn up to 31% more than their peers.
31%. Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, it is. And it's only going to increase as the demand for AI skills continues to grow.
So if you're thinking about a career in tech, AI is definitely the place to be.
Yeah, if you want to future-proof your career, AI is the way to go.
Okay, so for anyone listening who's like, okay, I'm convinced I need to learn AI, what's the best way to get started?
Well, I would say the first step is to just start learning.
Okay.
There are so many resources available online, and most of them are free.
Right, we talked about that.
So there's really no excuse not to start exploring.
And once you have a basic understanding, you can start experimenting with some of the open source AI tools and platforms.
Exactly.
And don't be afraid to reach out to other people in the AI community for help and advice.
That's right. There's a whole community of people who are passionate about AI, and they're always happy to help newcomers.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a really supportive and welcoming community.
Okay, so that all sounds great.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing that I'm still kind of wondering about is, we've talked about all these opportunities, but what about the risks? Like, are there any downsides to all this AI stuff?
That's a good question, and one that we'll be exploring in more detail in the next part of our deep dive.
Oh, okay, so stay tuned for that.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we're back and ready to wrap up our AI and software engineering deep dive.
Yeah, it's been a great conversation.
It has, and I feel like we've covered a lot of ground.
Absolutely. We talked about the efficiency gains,
Yep.
new skills, economic impacts.
Yeah, and even some of the challenges.
Like managing AI-generated code and ensuring its quality.
Exactly. But one thing that keeps coming back to me
Mm-hmm.
is that even though there are these challenges, there's this overwhelming sense of opportunity.
Right. It feels like a really exciting time to be in software engineering.
Totally. And the article really emphasizes that AI is going to create more jobs than it displaces.
Exactly. It's not about replacing humans.
It's about augmenting them.
Right. Think about all the new roles and specializations that are emerging.
Yeah, like AI trainers, prompt engineers, AI ethicists.
The possibilities are really endless.
And one thing that I think is really important to emphasize is that this isn't just about technical skills.
Yeah.
It's also about those uniquely human skills that AI can't replicate.
Like creativity, problem solving, critical thinking.
Exactly. Those are the skills that are going to be even more valuable in an AI-powered world.
Because at the end of the day, AI is a tool.
It's a powerful tool.
But it's still a tool.
It's up to us to use it wisely and responsibly.
To create software that benefits humanity.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So as we wrap up this deep dive,
Mm-hmm.
I want to leave our listeners with a thought.
Okay, what is it?
The future of software engineering is being written right now.
And you have the opportunity to be a part of it.
Don't be afraid to dive in.
Experiment.
Embrace the possibilities.
Because the most exciting discoveries are often made when we step outside of our comfort zones.
That's so true.
Well, that's all for this episode of The Deep Dive.
It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for joining us on this exploration into the world of AI and software engineering.
Until next time, keep learning.
Keep exploring.
And keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
In the world of tech.
We'll see you next time.
Bye, everyone.